Hello. Welcome, strangers. Welcome to the Sunday D&D stream. It's been a little while. You might have missed us.
Hello.
We've had Christmas off and New Year's, which was great. And we always, in our, off-game chat, we always talk about how it feels like a long time between every session of this game.
It feels like months.
It feels like there's been, months off. When it's been...
Every time we take a break, it's just the most depressing thing, because I'm like, oh, we're going to play Heroes this week. Oh, wait, no, we're not.
Yeah, it comes to, that first week, and everyone's like, holy shit, it feels like it's been ages. And we haven't even, had no day off yet.
Yeah.
And it's been, 2 weeks that we missed?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
been a millennia.
It means I'm doing something right, you know?
Yeah.
How is everyone?
Still sick, but coming out of it now. Vir's getting used to the air.
He's acclimated.
Yeah.
All right, good small
crap.
talk, team.
Notes.
Yeah, we get it.
I forgot to get my notes out ready. Let's do that now.
So, the big question is, what happened in the last week? Well, the party made it to the gnome island of Estana, where Eleanor was going to stay with the ship and unload, because it's a little cargo ship and all that good stuff, while the rest of you started looking around, asking about this thing called Drim. You know that the Gatestone of Air is related in some way to something called Drim. You don't know what it is, but in the process of looking around, you enjoyed some Gnurvelb and played some games in a tavern and met a drow lady named May and did some odd jobs. You notice that there's some weird stuff going on in the city. There's weird stuff in the tunnels below and some such. And also weird puppet tabaxi, perhaps. Because you were tasked to find out more information to get a lantern, which you did. And it turns out that lantern might be connected to an ancient evil. As it is. Connected to something called the Vashara that Barut managed to figure out is an old enemy of the dragons from ancient times that are these creatures made of gas now. And the session ended with you... I don't know if you did destroy the lantern. You said you basically agreed to get the lantern destroyed.
Yes.
But first, you need to go find out about Drim. Because that is a time-sensitive thing. That's pretty much where the session ends, with you being led by May's boss, with May, through Istana, to find out more about Drim.
Can I ask a question? Because I want to be clear.
Yeah.
You guys did no work in finding the gate keys to stop the end of the world?
They are doing it.
We made a deal to find out what Drim was by going and getting this lantern for the guy, and then we turned out to be evil, so we said we'd take it.
Okay.
Well, said we'd take it is a very generous way of saying...
We forcefully said we'd take it.
We said we weren't...
Keep it.
We said we weren't not
I
taking
wasn't giving it to him. I was going to give him money for it, and I ended up giving him 60 gold for his priceless artifact.
So it's all connected to the big plot. It's not completely unrelated. There were also a lot of drinking in taverns, tailing people, stealth segments.
I guess the right number of marbles.
Yeah, playing games in a tavern. So, you need a little bit of levity after being
I
at
can't
sea for
believe this
a month.
guy just sold a priceless artifact for that much, but also one that he knows is powerful, and the reason he's selling it is because it could be dangerous, but he doesn't know who we are. You could easily just be like, cool, I'm going to use this now, buy, and just become an evil...
Persuasion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I believe I intimidated. I didn't persuade.
I think,
I believe that's what happened.
It was basically this is happening. You can take this money or you cannot.
That was pretty much it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did intimidate. I've looked back. It was an intimidation. I had advantage. I rolled 2 17s.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Good stuff.
So, yeah, we were doing work. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I know you were doing work. I was questioning where you were doing the work.
Right. Yeah.
Alrighty. So, the session begins with you three plus May's boss, making your way through Astana. This would probably be when you'd be like, hold up, we should probably get Aelinor. It's been a couple of days. Aelinor's been unloading the late retirement with your captain. And dealing with the definitely not smuggled goods on board. So you can go and collect her and fill her in before you go to find Drim. But the maze boss, who is just a typical maybe crime gnome, you know how it is, has been telling you that this meeting about Drim is time sensitive and that you need to get there in like the next hour or so. So, like, this will be your chance to find out about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I whistle down the docks for Aelinor to come running.
That's how it works.
That's how it works.
Yep.
Look, we clearly have a "we're in danger" whistle that's ready to go at any moment,
Of course.
and we probably have a "we're not in danger but come anyways" whistle.
You have
know,
you are
so-
no longer an NPC whistle.
Exactly.
One of my favorite running jokes in the Monday game, I don't think it showed up on the Patreon podcast so much, is that Neil has to go a lot because of like shift work. So that Nuri, if he's not there for a session, he's just taking a piss behind like a tree. And it might be
It
like
has come
weeks
up.
of
I loved
in-game
it.
time. And he just comes back afterwards like, whew, oh, needed that.
Is he an elf?
No.
Then it's completely unreasonable. If he was an elf, that would be just normal behavior.
So you get every party you start filling Aelinor in as you go through the city. You don't really need to roleplay any of that unless anything super comes to mind. And Maze Boss starts leading you into the higher class areas of the city. Istana has a ring around the outside, which is the docks, which are mostly designed for pirates, because Istana is a neutral port. It's why nowhere else seems to be very willing to trade with them, because there's pirates all around, because, hey, if the pirates don't cause trouble, and they don't get beat up by the governors, they're allowed to... lots of money. And gnomes are nothing if not famously neutral, especially when money is involved. Further into the city, you start to get the towering towers of metal and concrete that are held together with water pipes going between them and steam going through the streets, and even areas where there are multiple tiers to the streets. And you're actually going up one of those areas, going towards a tower, up a bit on a balcony. As you're going up the stairs, there are posters in little glass panes on the wall that Barut, I think, would be the only one. Actually, Barut and Virik could be able to work out off of plays. Because you're going to a theater. But the theater seems to be closed. It's not like there are people outside. There's not even anyone in the ticket booth. The play posters are well printed and actually quite colourful for what they are, and they're suitably B-movie-esque. When you go up, Maze Boss will give like a kind of a patterned knock on the door. And it is opened, and he will step back and he will kind of motion in and say, I'm not meant to deal with any of this, I just buy and sell information. I know this is going on. You probably going to need to talk your way in a bit more. I mean, I'm willing to bet you're going to be the only people who aren't gnomes going in. But, I mean, you've proven that you got away with your words, so you'll probably be fine.
Or, alternatively, you could come in with us, and therefore make our conversation much easier, as we would have a gnome escort.
Give me a persuasion roll for that.
Ooh.
First roll of 2019.
Hey!
It's a
Not
good
bad.
one! It's a good one!
Not bad. I'll take it.
He seems a little anxious at that. He's already like tapping his foot on the ground. He's playing with his waistcoat. This guy is pretty well dressed, as a lot of the gnomes are around here. And up here, they're all wearing fancy hats, fancy clothes, suits, dresses. And he kind of fiddles with like a little chain that's connected to a watch, and is like, only for the introductions, and then I will leave.
I think that's
and
completely reasonable, and I'm very much okay with it being just for the introductions, and then you can be on your way. Of course, you're a businessman. You've got things to do, but helping us get in and without any trouble, we would very much appreciate it.
He nods, though it's not very animated, and will head in. Immediately, he's being asked questions by Gnomish, by someone who seems to be like, a porter. If this theater was in process, this seems like it'd be someone who maybe took people's coats, maybe dealt with tickets, who's asking questions. But and it's none of you speak Gnomish, so it's just a very fast chatter going back and forth. Gnomish is one of those languages.
So I picked up a little bit of things.
Yeah, you're starting to understand it a bit. It's one of those languages which I know I had a friend back at uni where, like, when you hear someone speaking their native language and it's just, you don't even understand how that could be a language. You don't hear separate words. You don't even hear sentences. That's Gnomish. It's so fast and quick. Which you're starting to understand. I'm starting to put it, take it apart in your head, Brute. And he walks in with a lot of you. May whistles, and May Erin is this drow mercenary sort of lady that, of course, Virik found another drow and has made friends. Who has no attempt to hide that she's a drow at all. She's just walking around in public. You actually go into the theater itself, the sort of amphitheater, and it is empty. There's no one in the seats and stands, but on the stage there are a small group of noble gnomes hanging about. One of them is plinking away at a grand piano there, but of course it's a gnomish size grand piano, so it's a little less grand than normal. And it's exactly, if you've been to like a station that has a piano in it or something like that. He's just plinking away. Not great, not brilliant. It's kind of nice to hear. When's the last time any of you heard a piano? The rest of the gnomes there are all clearly rich in some way, shape, or form. Some of them seems like maybe the patterns on their clothing probably mean something, probably logos or sigils to their family. Their clothing is extravagant. Most of them are sort of middle-aged. Some of them are much older. There is a much older dude sort of holding a cane who looks like half asleep in one of the chairs. And immediately when because you enter through the normal entrance and have to like go down the stairs, like with all the seats, the whole walk down, just all of them are looking at you. And it's gloomy enough that the gnomes' eyes are glowing a little bit in the dark. You just have a whole bunch of big gnome eyes watching you lot come down.
Cats.
Like cats.
It's just cats.
Into the bottom of the amphitheater. And before May's boss even says anything, one of them is just like, "These better not be the people that we're waiting for." And so I was like, no, that's not, we're not waiting for a bunch of elves and humans.
Oh no.
No comment to that. That is this seems to be a conversation that they're having.
It literally is. May's boss will step up and start speaking again in Gnomish, but there's a little bit of common words and the occasional sentence where he was like, "They're here to find out about Drim. They've traveled an awful long way." And one of them's like, "We're here to find out about Drim." And one of them is actually the guy at the piano. The rest of them are kind of like below the stage. He's the only one up on the stage. He doesn't seem more important than anyone else. He just sat at the piano. And he's like leaning on it. And he actually sort of motions to a lot of you. He's like, "What do you know about it? Drim, you been told anything?"
No, we haven't been told anything necessarily more than what you have, I'm sure. What about you? Have you been told anything?
He kind of looks at you. I was like, "It's an investment opportunity."
Well, that's about what we know as well.
He kind of looks at a lot of you. Travelers wearing armor that might not be as clean as necessarily it should be. And it's like, you have the gold to invest in projects. I mean, you must do. The only reason why he'd bring in foreigners, knowing the law, is that you have enough to line the pockets.
Burrow's just gonna give a big old smile. Not say a word, just smile. And then take a seat somewhere.
Yeah,
I like that
him
idea.
For what he will.
absolutely.
We're just gonna do the thing where he sits on the back of the seat with his feet on the actual like seat of the seat.
Of course.
Are these seats a suitable size for like our size people?
Some of them are.
Or are they
There's
tiny?
quite
Some of them are?
literally like. So if you imagine like the amphitheater's got the best seats, the ones
Mm-hmm.
on the sides are humanoid size, like for bigger people. So you're even if you were here, even like paying a lot, you wouldn't get a good seat for a performance.
By the way, how much gold do we actually have, everybody?
Like-
We would have checked this before we went in. Realistically,
15.
19.
You could.
good start.
I like the idea that you've sat down and you're starting to count. You're going in this, like you're off at the corner.
I have 93, and in the party pool we have 668.
Oh yeah, we're fine.
There's
The
how much.
party
There's-
pool
there's-
saves it.
The
That's
party
why you
pool
keep
that-
an eye on it.
And none of us touch the party pool ever, which is why we
For
have money
these reasons.
for these reasons exclusively. And I have 35, so that puts
It's
us
party pool.
Yeah.
That can put you at not like nearly 700 or whatever.
Well, no, because we have 93 from Tobias. We have 35 from me. That puts us just over 125, right? 128 plus the 19 plus the 15. So my math is terrible. but
Will,
that's
your nerd is showing.
37 and then 147 and then 152 plus the 600. And how much did we have in the?
We make 700.
We're over 700. We're fine. We have about 750.
Which is a lot of money.
Yeah,
Is it a lot
it's
of
not
money
a lot of
here?
money for these people. No, probably not. But we do have some money, and at the very least, we can persuade our way around that money potentially.
The other gnomes don't bother you. They do clearly talk about you. Some of them don't seem to be very interested at all. Like there's one woman in a quite extravagant dress who's like seems to be, in what you can pick up, Barut, telling the other gnomes not to talk about you. So I know, telling them off for gossiping. May's boss will literally, like, you turn around and he's gone. He's not staying anymore over his welcome. But May hangs out. May, like, reclines in one of the chairs, kind of like laying slightly over two of them. Because she's kind of part of the team, at least while on the Astana mission. And it's probably around 10-15 minutes after you're here that someone else walks in. Based on the reactions of the other gnomes, this is probably the person you're waiting for. One moment, I was just seeing whether the stream was not broken or not.
It's red chat. we may have to do it.
The
We'll find out.
It is a gnome who walks down. He's wearing a similar level of extravagant dress, finely patterned suit, waistcoat, bowler hat, which he takes off and kind of dusts off and holds in one hand, and a sort of a briefcase in the other hand. Seems to be similar to a lot of them, middle-aged gnome, dark hair in a long ponytail that's clasped so it's kept neat, and will straight up walk up to the stage. He kind of has to walk past you lot to get up there, and does look a little confused, but not.
No,
He's clearly present enough not to go like, what? He just kind of is like, huh, who are these? And he will stand, and he'll actually put down a briefcase, open it up on one of the little tables on the stage, and he will say, I am Anatoly Kibal Verandora, and I am here, as I'm sure most of you have been waiting with quite a lot of anticipation, to finally tell you about Dream. It is finally time, and I want to tell you and your coin purses all about it. And there's a little bit of, like, frustration from the gnomes at that, but he just seems to revel in it. He will take out a little object from his box, from his briefcase, and he will point it at the sort of... They've kind of got like a white painted wall at the back of the stage to put things in front of to set the scene. And he'll point it at it, and sort of an illusion, a projection, if you will present of it, of blue. And in the blue, in the water, is a city. There's a city, almost looks like it was built on the water. Looks a little empty, looks a little sprawling. It looks like blueprints, but very well made blueprints with an extravagant amount of detail. It takes you a bit of time to even realize like that it is blueprints. And he smiles quite a bit and places it down so the projection kind of holds mostly steady and says, "Drim is the answer to the problems that are plaguing our kind people. We gnomes can no longer grow properly under the weight of Istana, under the leadership here. We're people of science. We're people of wonder, of thought, of majesty, and this city is just far too restrictive. Which is why I have taken my time to work on Drim. Now, this is not just a blueprint. You'll find that Drim is nearly fully functional." And one of them says, like, "What's a city in the water gonna... We already have it. This is a city in the water. What are you talking about?" And that's when he just sort of laughs and says, "Drim is not going to be a city in the water. It is right now, but the majesty is..." And he clicks on it, and the water disappears, and it kind of looks like the city is floating in the sky. It says that Drim will be a city in the clouds. I am here to invite you all today to the grand opening, to the takeoff of Drim. You might be questioning, you might not believe in such majesty. I can see it all on your faces. But that is why you will be there. And then you can decide how much you want to invest. You see, Drim is an empty slate. If you want to build your businesses here, if you want to study, whatever you want to do, this is a city of science, a city of majesty. We are already going to have some degree of profits. There are islands in the sky that have valuable crystal and mineral reserves. This has already been experimented on. I have already done extensive tests on the technology that allows for this flight. Drim will be a focal point for that trade, mining, and resource management, and a focal point for science worldwide. And I don't mean just magic, I don't mean just clockwork tinkering, I mean science, people. I mean everything that everyone has wanted to study, but the authority in this city would not allow you to. Is that not what we as a people have always been looking for? And there's like silence from a bit of the room. And he clears his throat a bit and says, I have a ship that will be traveling to Drim's point in the docks. If you will follow me there. If you have your own ships, be free to ask the sailors on that ship. They will give you directions you can follow behind in your own little private yachts if you wish. But all of you, everyone in this room, and his eyes linger on you lot, who are not meant to be there. You get that probably everyone was handpicked to be here. Everyone in this room is invited. And tonight, Drim will take off. When he kind of like closes up the projector and everything, the gnomes, you hear mostly in gnomish was a little bit of common and just like in disbelief. But then he just kind of shakes and says like, "It is possible. It is more than possible. It is about to happen."
Oh, fuck.
He will get down off the stage.
The only four that believe him are like, well, shit.
He kind of looks at the lot of you, and while the gnomes are kind of all talking amongst themselves, they clearly know each other. They're all rich and noble in this city. He will actually walk up to a lot of you and kind of has his hands in the pockets of his waistcoat and just says, "I did not invite you."
No, you didn't. And yet here we are.
So why are you here?
Drim,
It interests you.
of course. How can it
Very
not?
much so.
I can already tell that you believe me, which is more than most of them.
Seen enough in my days. I believe much, but cautiously. Of course, I'd want to see it for myself.
You're travelers. What are you? Thrill seekers, dragon slayers? What is this? Oh no.
That's a term there, Dragon Slayer. So I'm gonna in Draconic speak to him and say, not quite.
He smiles a bit, clearly understanding. And then like that's like a subtle smile. And then there's like a much bigger like party talk smile. It says, "Well, you are of course invited. I have no idea who any of you are, but I'm sure that will change. I'm sure we'll have many pleasant discussions on the way to Drim, and I'm sure that you will be completely amazed. And of course, everyone, do not worry. It's a city in the sky. There are ways up and down. I've already made the airships that will be needed to get up and down. You will not be trapped there. This is not some kind of novel where I am all leading you away to kill you. Do not even worry about something like that."
In Draconic again.
Worried about it.
In Draconic again, I will say you couldn't if you tried.
He smiles, and in Draconic, quite quietly, is just like, "I mean, have you looked at me? I am not a fighter."
Clearly
And,
a lover.
Brew is just gonna give him a big old smile back and not say anything else with that.
He goes over and starts talking to the gnomes to kind of suppress some worries, explain things a little bit more. What do you guys do?
I turn to the others and I say, not a common language.
I know Giant by now. Giant.
You do know Giant. You've been on a boat for like a month. You do know Giant now.
I have added it to my list. Good. Okay.
In Giant, then. Because I would know that you know Giant.
You taught him Giant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
basically,
know that
yeah.
you're at least gonna understand me. In Giant, then. That's not a common language that I was just speaking. Unusual that he knows it.
Yeah.
I mean, if the guy can put a city in the sky, I feel like knowing Draconic is almost expected.
So I guess we're all thinking the same thing about that Sky City idea.
Yeah, that's a crazy cool idea, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Also, though,
yes.
Technology to power it, you have to assume that something like that.
Germ was supposed to be related to the
If
stone
anyone
and
wants to
something.
give me an intelligence check.
Do-do-do-do.
That's a good intelligence check for Tobias.
Oh my god!
That's more in character. So it's Tobias and Virik who, when like thinking through the blueprints that he showed on the screen on the projection, the city was based around, like under it when it sort of was shown in the sky, these large metal orbs, and they seem to be one in like every district of the city, and under the center of it, which would probably be what was keeping it afloat. And I don't mean like balloons; they literally look like enclosed metal orbs.
So, we just have to find out whether the stone will keep it up or whether it can fly without it. I think the stone is involved in some way, though.
Well, I guess we'll find out after we steal it.
Oh,
Are we planning on stealing it? We're planning on waiting for them to show up.
let's see if we can find out where it is first. I assume if we're going to go to Drim and see it, we might get some clue.
Yeah.
Hell, he might show it off as like a prize thing.
All of our options are bad.
Agreed.
So, let's have a nice time. Or
Yeah.
it says standing up and walking over to the You know?
Yeah, it's sort of at this time he's starting to ferry people to come with him on towards the docks to the ship. It appears he has a small entourage, but they're of governors. He has a couple of governors following around. They're the bigger ones.
The ones with the
Big with
taser
the
hammers.
If Virik, Barut, and Tobias want to give me a perception check.
Well, this will go great.
Usually does. I'll take it.
Yeah.
You're observant today. Tobias, you want to notice you saw a few of these enforcer governors, the clockwork law keepers in the city. These ones seem designed noticeably different. Now, every governor is different. They're like snowflakes. They're not like model by model by model. They're slightly different, although they have a core design. But enough about the design, the way it's made, the metalwork, almost looks more advanced, but mostly in a showy way. It's almost like, a PC versus an Apple governor. These are probably like a hand-designed, or at least linked to Drim in some way if he's trying to make a city that's kind of his own thing. These are probably his governors, not linked to the city. And they start leading towards the docks, and noticeably slightly nicer part of the docks. Anyone who's a little bit undesirable is pushed out of the way by the governors, who sort of stand 2 by 2 at the front and the back of the little traveling party of you and a bunch of gnomes.
It must look just so much like the Fellowship of the Ring.
I mean, if you give Merry and Pippin some pimpin' clothes, then yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just baller Fellowship of the Ring.
Oh.
Hilarious.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've
sorry.
got their good old high-class steampunk fashion going on.
Exactly.
And
But
they
this time
lead...
it's one of the tall ones that goes invisible.
It's true.
Look,
Leads
it's a little
you
bit of
to
a mix-up.
A very well-made gnomish ship. It's got a lot of metal on it. You actually notice it has a large orb as part of its design, kind of in the lower half of the ship. It kind of drifts off under the water and seems not very streamlined for process. It's kind of a bit of a tugboat. Instead of a sailing ship, it doesn't have a sail. And it seems designed for a little bit of luxury, though clearly luxury for gnomes. If you guys wanted to go inside, you'd have to duck. But there is a top deck, and actually, when you do that, Anatoli's like, "I apologize. I wasn't planning on having anyone so tall on this boat."
Burwood just shrugs. That's all right.
I'll have to have the canapes brought up to you, but that'll be fine. Are you ready to leave, everyone? Yes. And then he goes off to talk to the captain, and then quite quickly the ship sets off through the sea.
I'm going to go and speak to the... Is he still with the captain?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to go up to both of them and just say, it's a very interesting ship design, not one I'm familiar with. May I ask, how does it work?
It is a ship design of my own make. It is actually a hybrid ship and airship, in case of needs must. I am taking absolutely every precaution when trying to send my city into the sky. While most airships are specialized, this is in case of emergencies.
Fail-safe ship. Reasonable.
Yes.
Now, combination. That must have been difficult to achieve, because airships, I imagine, are not just specialized for the sake of staying in the air, but rather that they don't get into the water. So, how did you achieve that with the type of propulsion that would be required for an airship?
I am not going to tell you such a thing. And this is when I remind you as players that airships do not exist.
Mm-hmm. Burwood is definitely blowing smoke up his ass.
Yes, yeah, it's just, as a thing, airship is not like a concept, just in this kind of fantasy setting.
I think actually Aelinor saw an airship once. You described it in the sky.
Not Aelinor. Amelia saw an airship once.
Oh, was it Amelia?
I still think we're just going on to the ocean somewhere.
In a past life, you've seen an airship.
Yeah. I remember this concept.
He just kind of smiles and says, the technology that allows my ships to fly, that allows my city to fly, is very remarkable. The Brightwood process, the Brightwood engines, the Brightwood devices that allow the ship to fly are miracles, are signs of technology. I could not explain it to you in its entirety if I wished, and also that would be very dangerous.
Dangerous? Ah, that's interesting.
Can't just let anyone know my technology.
Well, I haven't properly introduced myself. My name is Burrowit Benerin, and I'll stretch my hands.
He smiles at that, like it's kind of like, I don't know who you are. I can't. Oh, wait, that's who. Okay, so he kind of does smile. He does shake your hand. Quite a firm grip for a little gnome, and we'll clasp it behind his back. And I was like, well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Barut. Of course, I did not invite you, but these are these little pleasant little surprises that the universe gives you. If I was a more faithful gnome, then I would say it was the gods, but I'm a man of science.
Consider this. I am a historian. I note the important annals of history. Throughout my travels, I journey to take note of things of importance, things of relevance. This is exactly that. I look forward to detailing the launch of your city. I'll be writing it down in my book, of course, not revealing any secrets. It's not my purpose, not my place. But rather just simply a note of its existence.
That's something I did not consider. A historian aboard my maiden voyage.
Perhaps it is the fates, then.
The fates, the universe, random chance, the gods. It could be anything. It could be demons, who knows.
All good choices.
Who are the rest of your friends? I don't think they're all historians. While the canopies go by, and people show their true form.
You see, you're like trying to like find a comfortable position laying down somewhere, and you just can't get it because everything's not the right shape.
Are you looking for names or are you looking for occupations?
Both, absolutely. I am a man of science and a man of information. You might call it an obsessive compulsion, but I like to know absolutely everything about everyone. Interesting, actually. Not many of my kind are historians. I do find it very interesting to find out about the histories of peoples and places and things. So anything that you could tell me would be packed away for future research.
Well, I'd be happy to regale you of some of the stories. My traveling companions and I have encountered. We are... my second job, one of many, is to hunt monsters. Not dragons. Per se.
Not dragons.
Not
because
dragons.
we're going to be going up into the sky.
There's always a chance. Well, dragons are often very reasonable individuals, unless they're not.
That is spoken with experience, which is titillating.
Pruitt just gives a smile and then says, well, a story for another time. But for now, of course, I should introduce you. Would you like to come around and meet them?
Oh, of course. And he'll,
Absolutely.
like, pat the captain on the back and step down.
Burrow will give a nod to the captain in a very Eastern sailor type of way. Very. He may not know what it means. Burrow it does though. Just keep us safe. And I'll take him around in a very, very specific order.
Oh,
I'm
really?
going to introduce him to Virik first. And mainly because Virik is trying to get comfortable, and I think that's hilarious as a place to start. This is Virik.
Oh.
Virik?
Oh,
He'll
put
shake
out a
your
hand.
Yeah, he'll shake your hand. No
And,
family
he's-
name.
No.
No.
Interesting.
Deliberate choice.
Oh, that is even more interesting. Do you not wonder about your forefathers, about the people who came before you?
Oh, I've seen enough of that.
He just
I'm without the mask as well, so I'm still
you're drow.
drow. So.
He gives Barut like quite a pleased look at that, mystery.
Yeah. And Bruitt just pats Virik on the shoulder and then says, "Well, I should introduce you to Tobias," and walks over to Tobias next to.
Now, this is a man that looks like a monster hunter.
I'm probably like kind of hunched over as Eleanor is as well because of the space here. But like when you come over, I'm just gonna like pull my hand, like one of my fingers out of my ear and like do one of these real quick and then shake his hand.
I was absolutely imagining something similar. He noticeably puts on a glove and shakes your hand.
Tobias is indeed a monster hunter, but he's a hunter. And more than that, he is a man of his people and a man of family. He treats everyone with respect, as best he can. Barut says with a smile, noting the, nodding to the hand that he clearly just wiped on his shirt. But, yeah. And a companion, a good friend. This... Eleanor, I'm assuming, is right there as well.
Mm-hmm.
The humans gotta stay together.
This is Eleanor. I don't know what she does. She's terrifying, though, isn't she?
She's quite remarkable. I would not like to see her running at me with that sword.
No, I've seen quite a few people flee at that sight.
Oh, I would.
Lady Eleanor Ernhelm, I do much for my country,
A lady.
including killing monsters.
Barut gives Eleanor a smile, and very particularly is clearly trying to indicate don't say more. The more mysterious we are to this man, the better. And I do say that in sending to Eleanor.
Oh, okay.
You don't get a response.
No.
It is quite remarkable that the 5 of you ended up on this ship, but... Well, it ended up in the theater and on this ship, but I'm sure that you will have an interesting time on Drim, and it'll be good to see the eyes of humans and elves on this ship. I actually had some help with elves designing the city's layout and structure, so I hope that you would appreciate the work that went into it. And he kind of trails off and stops and claps his hands together and is like, I have more touchy guests down below that I will need to appease right now, but it was a pleasure talking to you. And he'll put his hand as far up your back as he can. He's a little bit taller than your average gnome, but he's still
on my left
short.
butt cheek, huh?
Yeah, and he has a bit of a butt punch.
All right. I like that he said more touchy guests right before he put his hand on my ass.
And he heads off below deck to where the gnomes is.
I'm gonna sit down with Tobias and Eleanor, and I'm gonna say, in Giant, by the way. This is every conversation we're having at this point will probably be in Giant, just for safety's sake.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I learned that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so small. How could they even speak giant,
There's not enough oomph in their voices.
You can't get the bass.
Exactly.
It's not physically possible for them to speak it, but they could probably understand it. But regardless, in Giant, I'm going to say the idea is to make ourselves as simple as possible here. We don't want to appear to be doing anything over the top. This is a historic event for him. If he even suspects a slight thing going wrong, we will be thrown from the top of a city that is in the sky. And that is not what we want.
I think there is something to be said, potentially warning these people on what's going to happen. and something we should keep in mind.
The question is, what do we want to do? Do we want to attempt to obtain? Or do we want to attempt to withhold? And
I don't think it is possible for us to steal it, get back on a boat, make it back to the main island, and then make it back to the continent of
I
Jarviskjir.
agree.
I don't think that's feasible.
How far out from Istana are we?
You're
At this
going.
Yeah,
You're,
okay.
you're getting out.
Alright.
You
Alright.
can't
Here's the
really
thing,
see.
though.
You can see the kind of cloud around Istana right now. You can't really see the city itself, but it's not a big. It's not a big island, so there's that.
For this to be a secret, I imagine we'd still have to be a fair bit out.
So
Like-
another idea is to lay an ambush for the people that we know are going to be coming.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
I was
Not
legitimately
special.
going to suggest that, but I would suggest that if we do that, if we talk to him about what's going on, tell him why we're here, tell him what we think will happen, probably very soon, especially if news about Drim traveled as far as it did.
I mean, if we figured out where it was,
They're likely, and if
they're
this is
for
the launch,
sure gonna figure out where it is.
if this is the launch, this is the most likely time they'd like to go for it, I imagine.
And if we phrase it in a way where we know people are coming for your city, everything that powers it, we're here to help, he might be more receptive to that.
My concern is he understands Draconic. It's not an uncommon language, but it's not a common language either. I am skeptical of everyone now. I have to be, really. The last person, who I imagine would have understood Draconic that we've met, was actually a dragon. So I'm not suggesting that he is necessarily, but rather, well,
There's one thing that is one thing you can usually rely on, making sure that someone else's benefit is what you're looking for as well. If we have the same goal of making sure this city doesn't fall out of the sky, he's going to be a lot more amenable to that.
See, here's the thing though. If they attack and we fend them off and that's all fine, what's going to stop them from just attacking again
when we're not here dealing
when we're not here and we can't stay here forever?
Well, I
It'll
mean, we
help-
can take
it'll-
the keystone with us after. Like,
It'll
Yeah.
help the argument for we should take it.
But if we know it's coming,
And if that's at the cost of his city, do you really think that this guy is the type to give that up for the greater good?
There is a chance that the keystone may be necessary for the technology, but maybe not necessary for keeping it afloat. We need to know more, but we could. We would be a lot more careful about the extraction of it than they would.
That's true.
as for the gnome himself and your concerns over his learning Draconic, I would assume that people who have knowledge of the dragons, who are aligned with them, have a vested interest in keeping the elementals away.
That's also true.
not all of them.
Oh yeah.
There is the betrayer.
Also, I mean, just because Virik learned giant doesn't make him a giant now, so
No,
This
again,
is true.
I do.
do you feel bigger?
definitely admit that it's just purely skepticism and slight paranoia, without a doubt.
Look, you can't walk through life thinking everyone's a dragon. I personally am of the mindset that most people are not dragons until proven otherwise.
I don't trust him either. I think I trust that he wants the city to fly.
Hmm.
I think that's all I can trust.
But I think we have a better chance of success if we work with him rather than against him.
I don't disagree.
I guess the real thing is, do we want to tell him or not, is the thing we need to decide.
Or when do we tell him if we're going to?
If we're
Well,
going
if-
to, we tell him now. There is no other way about it. If we're going to tell him, we tell him immediately. Otherwise, we become suspicious.
Yeah, because he might get suspicious if they attack and we're suddenly like ready for it.
Why
That's
don't
true.
we, at the very least, wait until we know where this island is currently?
Yeah.
And that way, if things go sideways,
Dragons.
I didn't catch what you said. I'm sorry. I only
All
heard
I
the last
heard was
word.
the word dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
really
same.
dragon.
I said, are you afraid of being thrown off this boat by gnomes that aren't dragons?
No, but I would rather not have to kill every gnome on the ship if I could avoid it.
I
I
love
did say
that you
no.
phrased
I'm
that.
so glad you're speaking giant right now. If not, I would have done something very funny.
Right.
Yeah, imagine hearing someone
I
else
am-
in a
And
room.
let me
like,
just
a
the
subway,
waiter
like,
walks
I'd rather
in
not
like,
kill
ugh.
everyone. Unless I have to.
Look, out of character, I'm guessing this boat probably has defenses of some kind. So, nope.
Yeah.
Also-
they have eye guards.
Ejection seats.
Stand up and just say, I don't think we wait. I think if we're going to tell him, which seems to be the direction we're going, I think we go and we grab him up here, and he can make the decision as to whether he wants to tell everybody else.
He probably won't want to tell everybody else. He's trying to
I
invest
think
money.
Of course not. He's
I
trying
think
to
not telling
get investors.
everyone else. Yeah.
Monetarily influenced.
You should see if you can get him to pay us for protection.
No, you know what I'm going to do?
Not from us, but like if someone shows up and we save his ass, like we should get a contract from.
Pay us extra for doing it quietly so the investors don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Like think
That's
of-
valid.
it's- This is we're insurance salesmen at this point, really.
I'm
That's
going
very
to go and-
advanced for the Viking.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
No, this is their
He's
business.
learning.
This is what their business.
No, I know. You're like, it's very valid.
I'm going to
Protection racket.
like literally just stand up and walk over to the pathway down, the doorway down, and I'm just going to say, "Could we have a word?" Apologize for interrupting.
He'll, stop whatever conversation he's having and come back up to the top with you lot.
Do you mind if I just? Obviously, I'm going to pull him over to where everyone else is, and I'm just going to sit down and I'm just going to say, "There's a story that came to mind, and I know you're probably thinking I pulled you up here for a story. That's not necessarily the case."
Well, of all the elves I've met, they had a habit of doing that.
Well, not usually my forte, to be perfectly honest. But we came from Slate Cove, a town destroyed.
I'm gonna minor illusion Slate Cove and then minor illusion it as it is now.
Yeah, with the I'm hoping you're minor illusioning.
Oh
the
yeah,
sleeping
the
of
entire
the-
thing, yeah.
This town was destroyed by a keystone being placed into a prismatic cage or teleportation thing. We're really not actually sure what the ring is yet, the Ring of Haldoon, but we know it's draconic. We know that it was used to imprison primordials, and we know that it was used to imprison dragons. There are 4 keystones before that portal can be opened. One of earth, one of air, one of water, one of fire. We are searching for the other keystones. You ask why we've come. A city going up into the sky. Incredible. If we think it might be that an air keystone has something to do with it, the people who started with that ring almost certainly do as well. Whether or not it is, whether or not it was. That's not our purpose here, although if it was, it would very much be helpful for you to tell us. Instead, more what we are here to do is to hopefully make sure that your city that's going up into the sky today does go up into the sky today and isn't destroyed by the people who tried to destroy, well, did destroy most of Slate Cove.
I'm gonna minor illusion one of the monks with like tattoo and everything.
These are the people that did the whole thing.
Yes.
Well, I can assure you I've never seen someone like that before. I can also assure you that my city is not powered by this gatestone. In fact, I would quite happily show you what elevates my city when we are in process to alleviate your concerns, but I did not create every single thing in the city. I've had teams of people working on, I have had other people to work on. I cannot say with certainty that this stone is not on my city.
Of course. And we wouldn't expect you to know necessarily 100% one way or the other. We're here to make sure. We're here to make sure that if an attack does happen on your city, that it doesn't harm the city, that it doesn't ruin your investment, but more than that, that they don't have an opportunity to destroy the entire world with it.
Let's say I'm inclined to believe this whole thing. You speak heartfelt, and I know that in my heart of heart that this is something that should be believed, this level of seriousness. What is it that you're suggesting? That you try and find this thing, try and stop these people attacking?
Ultimately, the goal would be, of course, to find it if it is here. And if it is here, find it before they do. They have the ability to teleport. It's very annoying, very frustrating. They tend to get places much quicker than we can. It's how they got back to Slate Cove. But we hope that we found this before them, if it is here. And if not, I don't know what we'll do. But we're dealing with the scale of world-ending power. The primordials would return, and with it, a new age.
I am not in the business of having some sort of primordial mumble-jumbo ruining my big day, so yes, if something like that is to happen, I would like you to stop it.
That is our goal. And of course, are you familiar with the Grey Fists?
I've read one or two books about your enterprises. I had a friend who was interested in them once.
That is us. We're one group for the Grey Fists. We carry out contract work to hunt monsters, as I mentioned. These people, to be perfectly honest with you, it's personal with them. They've killed people we care about. We don't need money for it, of course, to protect your city. We are doing that because we want to stop them, and we want to stop them from ending the world. It would be foolish of us for any inclination towards money for that. We just wanted to let you know, so that you know what we're potentially walking into today.
And I am thankful for you telling me. It will go like this. I will continue everything as planned. There is going to be quite the ball in my manor. There's going to be quite a little display of the city going up into the sky. If any kind of primordio mumbo-jumbo, if these cultists appear, if the world starts to turn to the elemental world, anything like that, then your duty is to stop it, absolutely, and my governors on the city will do so. I have a brand new governor system installed, the finest imprinting technology, breakthroughs installed in this city, things that they would not dare do on Estana, and that is the whole point of my city. So there is already a level of defense. Once the city is in the sky, once everything is in progress, then I can work with you if this is absolutely true, if there is evidence of what you're saying to help you in your goal. And
if it isn't, and we're mistaken, then we'll of course be on our way. I'll write about the city going up in the annals of history. It will go in my book, and it will be a historic moment that we will have been absolutely happy to share, and perhaps we'll invest in as well. But
I hope it happens, otherwise there's going to be a whole lot of anxiety for nothing.
I hope it doesn't. But what I do hope is that if the keystone is there, we find it, and they haven't figured it out yet. And we're able to just get it, take it away, so that it doesn't risk endangering your city, and we're able to either destroy it so they can't end the world, or keep it safe?
He nods and goes to say something. That's when the horn is blown on the ship, which is quite loud and a little musical. And that's when you notice when you look over, kind of like to one side of the ship, kind of the shadowy shape of what looks like an island coming up closer. And that's where we're going to take a little break and come back after a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere, but you can. It's a free country. It's the internet, really.